Hello there, this is another MagJS tutorial that we're going to do today. We're going to do an example on loading and using external data, specifically a URL for a JSON. How to use that, how to get the data into your state, and then how to use it and display a list of that data result. This is based on an example, a tutorial in React, and it's using, which is interesting here, it's using the library of CodePen. It's using a JSON URL, publicly available JSON URL for a listing of jobs on CodePen. So here, why don't we check out that URL first? Oops, where'd I go? Oh, it disappeared. Here we go. Okay, here's a URL right here. So we're going to grab that URL, go back to our template where we always start is the MagJS homepage on GitHub. Then we go to our blank CodePen. Now we are going to have to use a library, and you can use any library you want for your Ajax XHR requests. There is a handy dandy MagJS add-ons, which is really small. I think it's like 6 kilobytes even before minified, but not gzipped. And we're just going to use that to load it. So here, let me just get that URL quickly. There it is. Okay, actually, before I do that, let me paste that other URL. That's our JSON URL. Grab this URL here, get out of here, go to the settings, and we're just going to plop this guy down over here. So that's our URL for our handy dandy mag.request, which is just a simple wrapper over XHR. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want to use this URL, which is our actual JSON request. So in this case, we're not going to even start with a static or stateless component. We're going to go right into mag module. Okay. Oh, I think I was typing. There we go. Mag module. Okay. So that's the basics for mag module that is self-running and will start right away. The first thing we want to do is we want to create an ID for it. Okay. So we have everything in place. We have our HTML template ID. We've got our mag module, and we have the URL. Let me put that URL now in place. We're going to load it through our props. I think we're going to call it source. And that's our URL. And then the props get sent right to our mag module like that. So let me see if there's any CSS here that we can copy. Yeah, I think there's a little bit. Let me just grab that. Copy this guy. I'm going to put him right in here into the CSS tab. And then I think that's enough for the CSS. Now, in regards to the HTML, I think for our list, we're going to have to copy some of this. I think here it is right here, actually. So all we need is all of that. It's going to be a really straightforward list that our app's going to have. Okay, so let's get rid of all the non-HTML things such as JavaScript. We don't really need JavaScript. And the class name, that's not HTML. There we go, class. And the href, we'll get rid of all the tags, but we can reuse the name here. Okay, I'm going to do company underscore name is looking for, I see to say term. And title is already taken HTML tag. So let's just say name. That's the one thing when you're using tags as matchers, you want to make sure that it's not a reserved or already taken HTML title or tag. Okay. Oh, I think I have some typos here. Okay, always check your typos. That's sometimes the biggest mistake areas. Okay, I think we got everything started. The next thing we want to do is probably uh, begin our app and have some default values. So we were looking, this entire app is about one thing, a list of jobs. So the first thing is our initializer. We call it the controller. And this gets run once on every time, the first time the module is run. And this, in this context, is our state. So here we're going to say jobs equals empty array. Initially, it's an empty array. Now, the next most important method on our object is going to be the view function. And the view function gets called on every change to the state. So whenever the state changes, new data is loaded, data is modified, the view will get run. Now, unlike in the controller where this is a state, in view, you can use either this dot state dot jobs, or you can use a state argument there. But for now, we're just going to use this .state.jobs, and we're going to use the built-in JavaScript array map, and that will give us a job, which we can map to something. And that's basically it. So now the next part is to actually load our data. You can see here they're using the Axios library, and we're going to be using the Mag add-ons. So we need to attach to our lifecycle methods. Okay. So the lifecycle method we're going to use here is this will load. So it's before it loads. And the second one we're going to use is this on unload after somebody removes this component. So those are our two lifecycle methods we're going to hook into. Now, similar to where this is over here, this is the only place where this is state. But in here, it's more like the view. So if you want to access the state, you don't say this over here, you would say this dot state. Okay. Now, to call the JSON source URL, we're going to use our mag add-ons, and it's called mag.request, which is really simple. And to access our props here, we just say this dot props. The other way could be, of course, props is the first argument to the controller. You could always access it that way. Say this dot props dot source. Okay, and then our data should be set to this dot state dot jobs equals data.json, and it converts the data into JSON for you. Now I think we did need the server request promise. We're going to use that for our on unload. So we're going to say like this, and then over here on unload, you can call .abort if necessary. Okay, so I think we're set up with our lifecycle methods. We have everything set up here, except we have this empty array here. We're loading the data, but for whatever reason, it's not showing us anything. So what do you think is happening at this point where it shows you one line? If anything, I would expect it to show me nothing, right? Because there's an empty array, so it shouldn't be doing anything. Now, what if I get rid of it like this? Okay. Now, the question is, why isn't this mapping? Now, this says, first of all, this says job, not jobs. So already we have a typo issue here. So let's look again. We're saying class job. Okay. So let's make sure we're talking to the same thing. So it's not job, it's, well, no, it is job here, and that's why it's empty now. But down over here, we had it set to jobs. So if we add it to job like this now, what should happen? It still doesn't seem to be doing much of anything. But here we say jobs, this state.job, and this job. So, what you say is important here in this sense. So let's see if maybe our console can give us some information about what is happening or not happening for that matter. So map of undefined. Okay, I don't know if that was an old message, so let's just reload the frame and see if that's happening still. Oh, we're still having it undefined. So that looks like it's on line 17. Ah, okay, so it's over here. So now if I say this, let's see if that still happens. Okay, so now it goes away. So that was my map function not having a syntax error. So all we're doing here is we're saying map our jobs. Now we're not returning anything and we're not assigning it to anything, so nothing's being mapped, whether it's loading or not. Now we do want to return certain things, right? We want to return the underscore href attribute should equal job.url, and then we could probably spread the rest of them, just merge them in there. But we're not assigning this back. We're just looping and not assigning back. So we have to reassign this back like that. I think I'm still getting an error. I'm not sure. Let's see. If that's a new error or an old error, let me just check that again. Okay, still getting an error. Cannot read property of undefined. This state dot job. Oh, this is line 7. No, line 17. Yeah, this state dot job. So we assigned it here, and then we assigned it here. So either one of these are becoming back as undefined. So let's see if our network request is being fulfilled. Let's reload that again. Oh, I think I see what's happening. Okay, so let's look at our network request. Okay, jobs.json. What does it return? It returns data jobs. And what I was typing was data JSON. So it's data.jobs. That's why it was undefined. Okay, well, let's see what happens. All right. So we have some information coming back, right? Let's look at our template again and make sure it lines up. So we want an href attribute, we want company name, term, and then we want name. Now name was something that we decided to do because we didn't want to do title, so that's why it's probably not showing up. So that's another thing we have to map, kind of like we did with the href. So we're going to say name equals job.title. Let's see if that works a little bit better. And there we go. And you can see the URLs seem to be okay. So let me click one. Nope, is it not working? Let me see. We could always inspect the generated HTML. That's just pretty neat to see if it's adding the HTML to the proper place. Now, it doesn't look like it in this context that it is. And there could be a really simple reason for that. We're not doing our element matcher correctly. We're still mapping to job, not underscore href, right? And that's really an A tag. So why don't we add it like this? Look for our A tag first and then do it. Let's see if that worked a little bit better. Okay, yeah, we can just click it, right? Okay, I think it's loading, or it did load. Let me just go back. Let's look at our generated HTML. And there you can see there's a job listing. Job listing. So the data is being mapped correctly. I'm not sure if it's supposed to show you something when you actually click on that link or not. But it's being listed. The URLs are correct, as we saw when we looked at the dynamically generated HTML. They have different URLs over here, and that's showing up correctly. So everything is being mapped properly. Let me just tidy this up a little bit here for a second. I'll do it tidy. So we have our URLs. We're mapping our templates, and everything is being presented properly. So I think our biggest struggle was the naming. We had the word job here. And then we also had it over here in many places. So we want to make sure we don't want to lose that name. So we had job here, and then when I wrote data.json instead of data.jobs. That was a little mess up on my part. And then also our element matchers here, I was trying to map href all the way to the top of the job. So it was looking up over here for an href in this guy. So you first have to match the element you want and then the attribute in that element. So that's another lesson here. They have to put the A tag and then the href. And then the other ones we can just spread or merge into it. So I think that's pretty much it for this tutorial. I will save this link and put it into the video description. Hope you enjoyed, and until next time, bye-bye.